The comic Q&A panel. Glad you're here. Lift your hands and somehow get them to come together and clap. The point is, it's morning, y'all, and I still feel like I just woke up. So the fact that you're here, you seem to all be breathing, your eyes seem to be open. These are all good things. I am Brentalfloss Black. And this is my webcomic co-writer, Dan Roth. That's right. Is there like an applause sign behind me? This is going well so far. Yeah, so this is going to begin as a Q&A. It will have interactive edit mobile.
And at some point there may be, in some fashion, a special guest.
Indeed. So, yeah. Hold on to your hats, Lincoln Fez and Fedora Man. Top that dude.
There you go. All right, let's begin.
Yeah.
Question.
Hit me.
All right, what made you guys decide to finally have your own website for the Brentalfloss comic?
Great question, and basically it came down to the fact that the webcomic started out as an experiment. Can we do this? Will this work? Will people like it? And because of that, the capital I was willing to put into it, it just worked out that my website could support a webcomic, but Brentalfloss.com is really not ideal for a webcomic. The old GeoCities style, like word links, you know, like because of the site Zoogle software, I had to build each website individually instead of just copying and pasting the template. So it was a huge pain. Each one took, I mean, okay, it's only half an hour, but when you can when you know that just copying and pasting the HTML would take just a second in a different, software suite, it really kind of hurt. So it became to a point where we were like, it's not fun to navigate the site. You have to, if you want to go to different, episodes, you have to either know the number or sit there and click next forever, which, racks up, ad revenue for us, but doesn't necessarily make anybody reading it happy. Sit there and go, okay, I'm on 32. Tomorrow I will be on 100, which is where I want to go, We wanted to be more intuitive and figured if people can get around the site easier, they might organically, enjoy more of the stuff, especially if they're going back and looking at the old backlog of episodes. That, and it really became its own thing, so separate from the videos that it was like, this is its own institution, it needs its own website because it's no longer just an extension of Brentalfloss. It is its own entity, and especially once we started calling the Brent character Brent instead of me, it was like, okay, it seemed like that eventually led to, the fact that it is its own entity and needed its own website.
Right, and also the nice aspect of doing that was that it made it much easier to make it so people could, if they wanted to, share it through Twitter and Facebook and all that other stuff, which people have been wanting to do. So really it was a matter of moving forward in a natural way. Next question.
Fez.
Okay. There is another webcomic that a lot of people like called Brawl in the Family. Every once in a while, the author of that strip does a musical comic, and they're great, and we love them, and you are so musically gifted in writing songs and such. Would you ever consider doing a musical comic?
We've been talking about this. It will happen.
Yes, absolutely. The trick from my perspective is trying to find a way to make it Brentalfloss Presents and not just Brawl in the Family, but bald, you know what I mean? Because when you see somebody else do something really well, it's so tempting to be like, let's do that exact same thing. But, there's any critical community on the internet.
What? Is there?
If one there be, the webcomic one is probably the most nitpicky, the most critical of the little things that, it's just... So at some point, if we did the exact same thing as them, I mean, I wish I had the idea, that thing where like the Ice World or whatever, where you just read through as you listen.
That's great.
Awesome idea. And also their, I think they did, what is that they did a YouTube video where Mario dies over and over again and he finally gets the princess.
It takes a lifetime.
It takes a lifetime, there you go. And I loved that. And doing stuff like that is on the horizon. Right now I think, we're still getting used to, even after 18 or 19 months, 2 every week, and also looking towards the future and not just doing it where, every night before, or every night before we have to give art, we're like, so what do we do? I don't know, does this work? Sure. Trying to pad it a few forward so we can actually think about projects that will take more time than just half a page of text.
Are you going to integrate Brent and Travis back into the series? Because I've seen a lot of them.
So the answer to that is that we have already begun integrating Brent and Travis back into the series, and we will continue to do so. Here's the deal. When we first started doing the comic, I had this idea in mind, which is that there are a lot of video game comics that are focused on video games and nothing else. And I wanted to be able to do something that would have a story to it, that would have characters that we would develop over time. And while that is still a thing that I want to do, what we learned was, over time, that we were losing people, that people weren't reading. And if people don't read, we can't keep making it.
Well, are you going to, like how you did Professor Oak and such like that, where you were Professor Oak instead and all that kind of stuff?
So we call that Muppet Babies. We do. It's like when the characters you know are like in the costume of a different universe, like it's almost like in their imagination. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The thing is, it's always an experiment. And once we started, had the new site, we started trying out episodes that were a little bit more one-off joke, very specific to a thing, and didn't necessarily require Brent or Travis or the main cast. And it seems like when we just, plug and play those characters into, like for instance, the Slender Man comic, that could have been Cass or Jules, but then it would have been like, why Cass? Is it something about her personality? Was that a reference to, no, we just needed someone who was chasing, So we just needed an anonymous every person. So when Brent and Travis fulfill the anonymous everyman thing, great. But at some point, it's definitely not all about money. Webcomics are definitely not like a get-rich-quick scheme.
Especially when 3 people are doing it.
Yes, exactly. I have people that are in bands that are always like, oh, if I just did it myself, it'd be so much more money. And I'm like, yeah, well, I can relate, because when you're on a team, you split things because everyone's putting in a lot of effort and you're sharing in the loss and the success. So, frankly, people respond better to kind of one-offs that are a little bit more of like our take on a pop culture thing. That said, when we can use Brent and Travis as everymen, or occasionally do a character joke that is so specific to them, like, okay, perfect example is Simmaculate, there we go. The episode where Travis is playing The Sims, and he's making sure everything's perfectly neat and clean, and he's scrubbing the shower, and then he's taking out the trash, and then it pans out, or zooms out rather in the last panel, and his room is filthy in real life, but he's so proud that his sim house is clean. And yeah, it's about Travis, but it's also, everyone has some dissonance there with the difference between what they do in video games and what they do in the real world. So that was a good example of that. But I think the short answer is, we will continue to use those characters, but ultimately it's about widening our audience and making sure that after what was 2 years of doing it, that we're not just throwing money into the wind and going, this is fun, let's keep doing this and see what happens.
Right, but it's a learning process. Keep in mind that neither of us had ever worked together before, neither of us had ever done a webcomic before, and so you are seeing us grow and learn how to do this thing best, and that's a big part of it too. Next question. You, sir.
How did the steampunk Hulk idea come about?
How did the steampunk Hulk idea come about in my brain?
Which drug were you on at the time?
God, I really feel like I gotta have to rattle it around and get it from the back of my mind. It was the fact that there was a drunk Hulk. Yeah. And then I felt that people love drunk Hulk and they love feminist Hulk. And I thought, it's funny, it's almost like this guy's like a real dude. Like, and if you had like someone who was like, I love that, but I didn't want to do a Hulk that already existed. And I was like, what's stupid? Steampunk Hulk. That's just the dumbest goddamn idea I can come up with. And I thought, it's funny if Travis is dumb enough to believe for a second that he does exist. And it's funnier if he does. So it's that idea of Travis's broken little heart at Brent making fun of him. Like, you know that thing is legit. And Travis, oh, then I didn't want it. And then having this alternate idea of the Hulk being real and simultaneously also having something else even more stupid. I was like, how stupid can we go? Philosopher David Hume, like, how does one, I was like, I'm just gonna random thing from my freshman 101 course in philosophy, liberal arts.
So that was all Dan except for one thing. I think this is a testament to the fact that sometimes I'm a little bit too like, let's make sure people get it. More people get it. Can 10 people get it? Maybe 20? Like, I think that was I think I added the word philosopher.
You did.
Or, thank you so much. My lovely girlfriend Elizabeth, everybody. Thank you so much. This is why this panel, from my end anyway, is going to be not me sleeping.
It's true. You and I do that a lot because you're always like, let's just be clear about this thing. And I'm always like, what, doesn't everybody know David Hume's a philosopher? No, doesn't everybody know that the guy is just, he's a skeptic. He's like the father of the skeptics. Everybody knows that. No.
And what was the, we hate your imperial skepticism, philosopher David Hume?
Yeah. It was just so ridiculous.
I think the word philosopher for me somehow was like my standards and practices of, okay, now people will at least feel dumb in a good way. Kind of like when you're watching Frasier, it doesn't matter what dumb thing Niall says, it's more about the way he says it. You go, okay, cool, I kind of get it. But that's one of my favorite scripts though, because totally Dan's brainchild. Just because it reminds me, I don't know, when I look at it, it feels like something, it feels like a webcomic that I would admire and not know how to make. And that's a testament to collaboration, that when you're working with somebody else, sometimes you get to do stuff and be a part of stuff that you could never do on your own. So, that's that.
Next question.
So, the duck butt lollipop, how did you come up with that? Were you just like pulling 3 random words out of your ass? Or
So here's the deal with duck butt lollipop. I feel like I'm going to become a broken record. I thought, what's stupid? Memes are dumb. I just think like, should I publicly say this? I thought, I love Nyan Cat, and it has made the person who created it tons and tons and tons of money. But I looked at it and I was like, it's a cat with a Pop-Tart body in space. That's retarded. Why is this successful? Why do memes work? I don't understand. So I just thought, what would Travis come up with? And since occasionally Travis is a little bit me in that way that he's just a moron, he was just like, what if I showed a duck up a duck's ass and put it on a t-shirt? I bet people would love it. And thankfully, because there was a comic world, which doesn't have to be anything like the real world, people in the comic world loved it. The real world. But the comic world thought it was correct.
But I think that we could have tried to make it more specifically a dig at Nyan Cat, but the thing is, I don't think it's that we hate that. It's more that it's ridiculous. Trying to find a way to point out the ridiculousness of what we get into, like Gangnam Style. It has like historical and cultural stuff that makes it really funny if you get it. But I didn't get it. I just saw this Korean dude dancing and going, "You're dancing out of your league and I love it. Ooh, confetti cannons, cool." Like,
he's yelling at a woman's ass. Who hasn't been there? I just got with him immediately.
You're welcome. Well, yeah, that's where it came from.
Right. Next question.
In the back.
Do you remember the difference between a panel and a strip?
A panel and a strip. So basically what you're asking us to do is focus on the fact that we had a conversation with you last year. And that's fine. Yes, I do. Now shut up. This year I have a 3DS. Were you the one who took the picture or am I mixing up something?
What?
You know what? I think I'm going down a bad road.
I absolutely remember you the instant that you walked in the room.
Yeah.
It was a weird feeling.
Yeah,
I was
when
like,
you-
hi, 1 year ago, nice to see you.
We said episode or issues or something, and you made the point that we were wrong in that. And thank you so much. So, no, it's good. I was that kid growing up, but still, it's something, having a point of order, making sure people are right is sometimes good. But, come in, don't just smell us. So, well, that looked like the general gesture, like the, smells like Sunday at Magfest. And whatever that means for you. All right, let's keep this train rolling.
Sadness and shame.
Any other thoughts, questions, comments, business cards, butt slaps, high fives, candy? I'll take it. Okay.
Do you have any personal other webcomics that you've looked at that that act as an inspiration for your current webcomic?
So webcomics for me, I started out when I first started going to college. I had someone say, like, you should read this comic, Sluggy Freelance, which has now gone on about 20 years too long. But in the beginning, it was this brilliant masterpiece of like everything that I would want to see in any piece of fiction ever. It had buddy comedy stuff, there were travel stories, there were stories about, like mothers and sons, there was family elements, there were aliens, there was a mascot that was a rabbit with a switchblade. It just went all over the place. And I thought, this is brilliant. And that was why I wanted to do story stuff in Brentalfloss. But then, when I wanted to do stuff that was more episodic, more video game based, more culturally based, certainly Brawl in the Family was a part of it. I enjoy reading their stuff. I find that I read Penny Arcade from time to time. And then it's just like random things. I mean, like, I think probably most of you, I go on Tumblr or Twitter, or, I follow the right people, and they're like, look at this thing, it's funny. And I'll go, that's hilarious. So it becomes less about a particular group of people that are creating a product, and more that I'll see a specific strip and I'll go, oh, that was so fucking smart. I wish that was my idea. At some point, I'm gonna have to come up with something that is like that, but nothing like that at all. But yeah, that's how that works. Yes?
Is there anything you specifically try to avoid doing when you're making comics?
Fucking up.
Sorry, here we go again. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, I suppose I do. I think that in different ways you and I do this. Like, when we first started, we would make comics, and I would not think about the concept of what if somebody got offended by this. And then we would make a couple strips and people would be like, that's super offensive. And over time, you kind of have to learn when it is that you go, you are one in a billion. And so, I'm sorry you were offended, but I'm not going to, I can't, just for one individual, not do it. And then also recognize, conversely, when a whole lot of people come to you and say, this thing was not great, this thing bothered me, was irksome, what have you, and then say, okay, let me really understand why. And then in the future, when you do comics, go, but is that going to upset the same group of people? Maybe we shouldn't do that, because we don't want to offend people, we want to entertain.
And from a practical perspective, it's often jokes that our community would specifically be sensitive to. It's great to be an artist and want to express all the cool little ideas that float around in your head, but at some point, if one is specifically going to be inflammatory to your base, it's a really dumb idea. And a good example of this, if you guys were here last year, is we had a joke that I thought was appropriate when I first wrote it, and then quickly realized probably was a bad idea, that compared people with Asperger's to NPCs in Final Fantasy. People that, don't so much listen, just talk to you. And I mean, I have friends of all parts of the autism spectrum, and I feel like as a kid, I don't know, I think if I was a kid now, I would have been diagnosed with something. Anyway, so I feel like I have a connection to people that talk and don't listen, as I'm doing right now. The point being that, there is a statistical likelihood that feelings could get hurt more than if we were to say, I don't know, at a sports journalism convention, or something like that, or we were doing, commercials for McDonald's, which is for everyone, not that they would ever do that.
Also, but in addition to that concern, the other big one is that we sort of have adopted this idea of what is it that we need to do whenever we make a comic. It is, okay, I had this idea, and whatever the idea is X, and we have to ask, who is the audience for that? Can we reach that audience? I forget what the third one is. But those that's a really big aspect, is can we reach the audience, and can we do something with it that has not already been done?
Right.
So that becomes like this triumvirate of things. And there are many comics that I look back and I'm like, man, we were overreaching. We did a comic and it just didn't fit with us at all. It was so non-Brentalfloss. And as a result, we couldn't reach this audience. We were just never going to be able to get out there in a way that the people that are our core readers are not going to share it. Therefore, it's not going to get to anybody else. So what is the point? Artistic stuff be damned. Like, it's nice. I made a strip, which I love, which we ended up calling Paper Trail, where everything is pretty much on the top. It's all visual. It's this guy is walking down the street and he walks past a vendor. He steals a paper and he runs away. And he's it's like this big crazy trench coat. He's clearly a thief. And Brent is telling the story in the top. All the pictures are word bubbles, but instead of words, it's the images of what happened. And in the middle, he's talking to the vendor, and then at the bottom, the vendor's like, yeah, he does it all the time. It doesn't bother me. And what we realize is that Brent has bought a paper, and he's like, think about it, when's the last time you bought a paper? And then the end is like this newspaper thing, like, mind blown. You know, and it's like, that was my whole treatise on the complex nature of online piracy, which is that sometimes a thing gets stolen, and as a result, it becomes more part of the awareness, the cultural awareness, and then as a result, more people will pay for it because they know that it's there. And while that was the thing that I really wanted to talk about, generally speaking, the Brentalfloss, the comic readers don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it really was a good-looking, well, spaced out and composed piece, but it just didn't quite have that gut connection where, when you're sitting there and you have the spit take moment where you spit out whatever you're drinking because it's that good, or it just makes you laugh out loud when you're alone, which is a whole lot different than with other people.
And if it's going to be thoughtful, I think it still needs to come from a place, again, is that your audience? Can you reach that audience? That was not our audience. We were not going to reach that audience.
Right.
And that's it. So that is the other half of the answer to your question. Anybody else? Go ahead.
What is your least and what is your favorite comic?
You mean episodes of our own? Okay, not like other comics. Okay. Darn. that would have been easier. I think the least favorites, I've got a few.
I can't even, yeah. It's every single one Brent has ever made.
Yeah. Well, now this is, you get to watch how we actually interact as friends and collaborators, but I still have reservations about the puppet one, because we went from, there was an episode where Jules was going to put on puppet shows. Originally, Jules was going to write slash fiction about, which I sound like an old man, I know it's just called slash, but I always say that for people that are like me and don't know what it is.
For the slash fiction writing.
You write the slashy books, yes. But the idea was Jules, Cass's roommate, who you probably haven't seen in weeks and weeks, maybe about months, write slash fiction about video game characters, just because that's a thing that really happens, and you've read the awful fan fiction or been to panels where they read it out loud.
Yeah, literally, I think the original pitch was, Mario comes to the end of the castle, and then Toad's there, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Mario, but your princess is in another castle." And Mario just says, "Who said anything about princess?"
That's the way Jules like reading it to Brent, and Brent's like, "Oh no, that's enough."
Like what I've seen, I cannot unsee.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And I think I had another one. No, it was, I had taken it so far. There was a point when Luigi was going to walk in and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's like, and that's when Luigi whipped out the Tanuki suit. It was a lot. Anyway, so that was how it started, and then it had turned into somewhere along the line. It had changed a couple of times, and then I was convinced, and you were not, and you were on a plane, and I wanted to do this.
This changed while I was sitting on a cloud. Unable to know, unable to affect it.
Yes. And I wouldn't say this out loud, except that you already know, which is that I, in part, specifically made the change going he's in a plane, he can't say no. He definitely will. But I really want this to go out, so it was totally Shady O'Grady that I'd done it. But these things happen. But yeah.
When I landed and saw the art, and it was so we've gone from slash fiction to puppets. But they're not slash puppets. They're now doing a Shakespeare.
Oh right, I was so excited. That was it. You know what? I just had somehow gotten in my head that dead for a duck of dead. The idea of Toad as Polonius just tickled me so much, and it was that totally became for an audience of me.
I mean, that's the thing. Dan and I think that one thing that differentiates Dan and I as far as where our ideas come from, I think more often Dan will have an idea of a funny situation in which funny things can happen, and I more hear the rhythm of the punchline even when there's no words there yet. You know what I mean? It kind of starts like this, but then, there's this other thing, and then, bump. Get it?
Yeah.
I think he says, really? I don't know what's in the middle, but really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And my weakness is that I have formulas that may or may not actually be full of good content, even if they rhythmically seem to work. And Dan's weakness, I think, is really funny seeming situations in which no punchline sometimes occurs. So that's why, seriously, I think that when we work really well together,
right, it becomes a marriage of those two things, so that we have a good idea, a good little story, and then also a great punchline.
Yeah.
Although oddly, we had a couple times where I thought that the opposite happened. I thought that the Grinch one was a great one where you had written something, and then I was like, you know what this needs? A bag of dicks.
Yeah, what was the original joke?
I don't even know. I don't remember.
All the who's down in Whoville.
I just all of a sudden I was like, I really want to just come up with this idea where throughout you're thinking it's candy corn, it's candy corn, it's candy corn. Surprise, it's peanuts!
Oh, you know what it was? The idea was that I was going to make a joke about circus peanuts, those puffy orange marshmallow things that somehow keep being made even though they're awful. The idea was that
I thought less people knew what that was. And
Than
I was
about
like,
dicks,
and I was
yeah.
like, more people know candy corn. Right. And then I went, what if it, and then peanuts sounded like peanuts. Which means I should probably be in therapy. And that was
But back to the question of like, favorite and least favorite. I think my least favorite, because of the way it was made, and I mean it didn't break us or make us, but the Mario Puppet Hamlet one, probably my least favorite. At least
I
least
really should
favorite.
have been like on my phone looking it up because I know there was one that wasn't even that long ago that I was like, ah.
You think about that, I'm gonna think about my favorite. Philosopher David Hume is pretty close, if not my favorite, just because it feels like it transcended what I thought the comic would be able to do, even though like it didn't become like a thing, you know what I mean? It didn't become like a hit on Reddit. It's just still like, as a personal piece of something that I was involved with, it's pretty cool. I also, jeez.
There have been ones recently. Like I love that Rich one actually. I could also because Andy Pastucci that suit style so well.
Yeah, and I mean some of the ones I like are not fan favorites. I really like the Save Yourself one, which is where you're seeing the inside of what it looks like when a Windows computer has a fatal error. And there's one file who's like, hang on, Doc, we're going to make it through this, or whatever. The other's like, save yourself. Being see, get it, waka waka. It's really, for me, it's funny and beautifully made, but maybe not everybody else's favorite.
Yeah, of course. Now, the internet is not working on that thing. I really liked, speaking of ones that I don't know that other people were absolutely in love with, but I really liked making Darth Vader like Darth Cinderella.
Oh, yeah.
I loved that. Like, that was just, you know, and I remember people being like, oh, that's just random, so it's funny, which isn't true. And I was like, well, here's the deal. I don't know if you've noticed, Star Wars, a bit of a sausage fest. And I just thought, Darth Vader's very high drama. He's a bit of a diva. I feel like his day is coming, and what a lovely singing voice I'm sure he would have. Oh. Yeah. Where's that musical number?
No, not one. No, not one.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think that the ones that I don't like in general are usually the ones that we come up with like so fast. When we were trying to do the obvious trolls, I can't remember them because they came out so quickly. And some of the ones that came out right before that, because we were still dealing with obvious troll, we kept thinking it was going to come out sooner than it ended up coming out.
There was one panel that we did just to kind of give Andy more time right before the obvious troll. What was it?
I don't remember, but I remember just being like,
it's like at this point.
There was one that I did and one that you did. There was the one where it was like, why it's taking so long for this Wii U to update? Another Wii U update? And now I'm a skeleton. I was like, this joke has been done a million times.
Yeah, and it really reflects like an impatient kind of asshole kid kind of mentality.
Right, and it was like, I mean, like, this is at best going to be like a, skeleton, hilarious. Like, I turned into a skeleton waiting for this to be funny. Like, you know.
Was the Monita Navi one right before?
That was around then.
But I like that.
Yeah, I think that went
that
pretty well.
I thought that was great.
And you know, that speaks to, not to go on a big tangent, but to the difference between us doing more retro stuff in the first year and being a little bit more relevant now. You know, Slender is, the game is more now. A BioShock joke is a little bit more now than, say, a Little Nemo joke. And it's just interesting that as we try to stay relevant, new challengers appear. Apparently, for some reason, nobody cares when you make fun of like a game from 1990. But if you make fun of what Nintendo's doing right now, I never thought I'd be pitted against Nintendo fanboys.
Yeah.
It's kind of hilarious because, like, I was the OG Nintendo fanboy. Okay, if you don't count like the guys that loved Nintendo cards and brothels in the 1800s. But you know, I feel like
That was me.
Go use potion. Great grandpa.
I like the ones who, I mean, this is totally on my own, but I really enjoy doing Doctor Who strips, which happen every now and then. It's a lot of fun for me. But the nice thing is that, like, I get to have total control over those. And we absolutely can reach that audience because Doctor Who fans are legion and there's plenty to make fun of.
Should we do another question and then maybe get a little bit?
Yeah, let's do one more.
What was the specific inspiration behind the whole time traveling thing?
Behind Floss of Time?
Yes.
So first of all, I love time travel, not just Doctor Who, but in general.
It's fun on the weekends.
It is. It's a great holiday getaway of time and space. I just wanted to do a time travel story. That was the first thing that I wanted to do, and then I was like, how do we do this? And I was thinking about how Brent and I would have conversations about being Brentalfloss, because you and I were kind of really getting to know each other, and this was such a different thing from my experience as a freelance writer, and this idea of like, how long can you do this thing for, and do you feel like, is this a childish thing that I'm doing,
yes,
having that moment of self-doubt.
Right.
And I immediately thought, I was reading this book about Nintendo and how they get started in America, and I found out that Howard and Nestor fame, Howard and Phillips, had been part of that. Like right at the start, he was like a gopher. He would go get coffee for people and stuff. Like he was there at the beginning. And I thought, what if we told a story where there was a parallel between the character Brent having a crisis of faith and what he was doing was worthwhile, even though it was a little bit kiddie, and having Howard Phillips have the same crisis of faith and what effect that would have on the world. And it just became immediately obvious that it's like, this stuff that is seemingly kiddie is important. It's relevant. We need it. We needed Nintendo at the time, I think, in the way that I think people need web entertainment like what you and I do, and what many of our friends do. We need it. It's important. It has a value. And I wanted to tell that story, and time travel was a great engine to use to tell that story.
Yeah.
What a serious answer I gave. Sorry, there was no comedy in it.
And also, farts.
Ranking cat.
All right, little crumble on top of that casserole. So, I was going to say, we're at the halfway point, so we're going to slightly flip the script. And I'm going to be excited about it. Should we tell? Okay, so we are now...
It's going to take a second.
Well, by hook or by crook, we are about to go live via audio.
We may have to direct it.
Okay. To Andrew Dobson, our artist now. Prepare to do that again because I need him to hear that, okay? It's nerve-wracking to be doing this stuff on the phone, so I may just give you the overview here in a second. It's great, that's a video. His video is always like, and it would be kind of like the guy that's trying to order, like trying to confuse the person at the fast food restaurant by doing that kind of, yeah, I want to get well done, please.
Let's try this.
Yeah, all right. Is that an audio cable or like a futuristic crazy? Oh, take that, ears. Is he expecting this? I hope so. Who are you? Who is this?
Sucker.
What? Sorry. Yeah, that's the wrong button. Here we go. Nope. There we go. So the point being, prepare some questions if you have them. And prepare some if you don't, because we need them. Well, I'll ask them.
Who are you?
I blame that Nathan.
Yeah, it's clearly his fault. Well, I'm really at a loss of what to do. It says calling mobile, we hear no ringtone.
Yeah.
He's probably going to think we just forgot
Yeah.
and just ditched it.
Tell you what, let's keep talking, and then if somehow it makes its way through, then great.
Do you want to do the audience thing? Or should we wait till we're not trying to get on the phone with Nancy? What's up, party people? Oh, come on in.
There you go. Do that. Come on in.
All right.
It's going. It's going, my brother.
Yeah. Come on in, do whatever you need to do. Yeah, no one's looking at you.
Hello?
Hey! Andy!
Hello.
As you can tell, we have a crowd of 18 billion people here.
And one.
Can you hear us pretty well?
I can hear my echo and I can hear you, but I can't hear anything else.
Oh, okay, well, if you heard like a big strange wall of noise, that was applause. I know it probably sounds a little bit compressed over the phone waves there.
So what we'll do is if you have a question for Andy about the art, come up to the mic that is live and then speak clearly and then he will answer your question. Anybody have any art questions?
All right. We have people approaching.
Okay, I have a question. So, when did you first start drawing as a career?
Did you catch that?
No, I didn't get that.
When did you first begin drawing as a career?
That's a good question because it's kind of been this weird transitioning phase. Like, I mean, I started drawing, trying to professionally at least, immediately out of
Oh, fuck a duck. Preferably that one on your shirt. What do we do? We have to call him back.
Yeah,
he's probably still talking now, realizing he's hung up. I hate when that happens. You ever do that? Yeah. Talk for 5 minutes and you're like, say something, goddammit. Oh, I've lost the call 5 minutes ago. Wow. It's like not even, I'm pressing the call him number and it's like doing the iPhone equivalent of laughing at me. Oh, it says it's searching for a signal.
What if he's trying to call you?
Well, because it has no signal, basically that's getting lost in the heavens. Basically the cloud is just laughing at that.
There's no signal anywhere.
No, I have one here too. It says that.
I'm sure only in the lobby. In the lobby you can call people, but everywhere else I can't.
I can't call anyone in the lobby either.
Actually, in the
I have AT&T.
Yeah, I have at.
Yep, I got full bars with Verizon.
I got full bars, but I still couldn't like call anyone. Like I got your text in here the other day.
All right, take two.
I guess you're thinking
Verizon. We're gonna see if he can enjoy that.
Best sound I've ever heard.
That's the new dubstep.
Static.
Okay. Here we go.
We were playing before, it was cool.
I was calling her T-Mobile.
And he's like, lost the signal. I should be like, nope, got bored. Sorry, buddy. Not true. Just, you know, be a funny retort. Okay. Hopefully he will not screen this call. I love what I think you're doing. Hey, sorry, man.
We're using a different phone. Should look better.
AT&T just really does not like any of us, I guess. So sorry. You were getting right into when you decided to do art as a career.
When I decided to do art as a career, because I think that's always kind of been the back of my mind ever since I was a kid. But professionally, it hasn't really kicked in until only a few years ago.
Alrighty. Cool. Next question. Thanks, Jennifer.
What is your process like in developing the visuals for the comic? Like, how do you sketch out each panel and that kind of thing and decide positioning?
So the question is what your process is for developing each individual strip, like how to...
Sketches, panel layout, where you're going to put the word bubbles and such.
Yeah.
I think I approach it the way I usually do every other comic I do. I just kind of plan it out like I'm filming a movie. Like, I kind of envision in my head like the way the camera is set up, where it's pointing at the characters. Sometimes I'll have notes from either Dan or Brent indicating what they want to see in the shot. So I can leave my panels around, you know, what they describe in the script. And sometimes I frame things to try and make it a little bit easier to understand like action from panel to panel. But there's not really much of a say on that. It's just, you think how you want to see it, and it just comes out that way.
All right, cool. Next question.
What is your favorite style that you've gotten to imitate working with Brentalfloss the comic?
Great
Really
question.
good at that.
So this gentleman is basically saying he likes the way that you emulate and kind of pastiche different styles. What he's curious about is what your favorite one has been so far, what your favorite style has been to emulate as part of Brentalfloss the comic.
This is a good question. I'm not sure. I think one of the ones I had the most fun with was doing the Chrono Trigger crossover.
Specifically applauding that one, so go on.
I actually heard a little bit of that. I think I also had a lot of fun with the Little Nemo in Wonderland, because Mr. McKay was a really big influence on me growing up. So getting a chance to kind of have a little fun with that style was, just a fun little challenge.
Yeah, I also really liked that was an example of one of the strips where we all had the chance to work together. That was completely collaborative, because I feel like to some extent it's sort of like Brent and I will write something and then Andy, you will execute, and then we'll give notes about what we want you to tweak. But that was one where you came back and were like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and then added that ending, that thing that Windsor McKay, where at the end Brent is waking up in the bed like, what the fuck did I just dream that for? And it worked so well. It was that last little cap that made the thing complete.
Yes. Cool. Great question.
The Charlie Brown one is one of my favorites.
Oh, and the guy asking the question wanted to point out that the Charlie Brown one is his personal favorite. And one of
that was actually really hard to do.
Really hard?
Yeah, it's really strange, but Charlie Brown is one of those things that's really hard to kind of emulate. It's one line out of place, and the whole character just falls apart. And then trying to make them look. Obviously, you're not in Brentalfloss's style is not the same as the Charlie Brown style. So trying to fit your characters into that style is actually really challenging.
I want to try now. Did that guy just walk in and turn off the projector, or did it turn off itself?
No, it had like a sleep mode.
Okay.
Wow.
How insulting. Can somebody press the power button? We're hoping to do something that may or may not require the computer, but we've never done this before, so if it, we're just going to see how it goes. But we thought it would be cool to simulate the actual process we have of coming up with a strip. Now, it doesn't go the same every time, so who knows, but basically, here, I'm going to pitch to you what I think we should do. You tell me if it's not my idea, because I've been thinking about it.
That's all right.
We need a one-sentence pitch of what happens in a comic. Not like, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens, and then that happens. Like a one-sentence pitch of a situation, a joke, something to talk about, and basically once one has teeth with us, we'll just sit here and draft it out. Yeah. Which, usually, once we have an idea we like, it doesn't really take very long. The hard part is getting a good idea.
Yeah. The idea is to have a concept, and then, you don't have to do this, but if it's got a punchline, that also helps.
Yeah.
That's really the bonus, but again, it really should be.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's more important to have an idea than to have the right idea, because the thing is, if we, could execute an idea, like if we could execute any idea for a webcomic, we would probably, have way more of them and do way better. We can only do what we can do, but if you have an idea for one, pitch it to us in, kind of one sentence, let us know and we'll spitball. Back row.
This is one I gave you last year, but Brent wishes upon...
Have you been checking every week to be like,
Pretty much. Brent is wishing upon a shooting star, and the star is actually Kirby burning up in the atmosphere.
All right, so do that one in like 45 seconds.
Yeah, we could do more than one at this point.
All right.
That is a script in itself.
All right, this is how it looks.
I would put him at the window. He's gazing out lonely. Stop it.
Background just laughing evilly as he watches Kirby burn up.
So, the thing is, I think that, now, here's what I always do. I always break down, what is the joke here? And I think sometimes it's probably annoying for Dan for me to sit there and say nuts and bolts it. But I think the joke here... we have a housefly in the small pocket this morning. Once again, everybody, just kidding. Almost came out as our lovely assistant again. Yeah, okay, so I think that the joke here is the juxtaposition between the fact that you could be wishing on a star, and that's sort of a nice tender moment, with Kirby burning to death in the atmosphere. So I'm gonna just...
I think it has to be as tender as it can be.
I'm gonna just attempt this.
The juxtaposition of the two.
Let's see.
There's a power strip.
Narration box? Dan, talk bubble or narration box, or thought bubble?
I mean, I feel like that's not a thing that you say aloud.
That's the thing, it's like on nights like this, but it's not he's saying it, he's kind of, it's in him, like narration box?
Yeah, you can do narration box or thought. Either way is fine. I kind of like the idea. I feel like there's something more whimsical about a thought bubble.
Okay.
Whimsy. That's what I'm
Whimsy.
Okay. This is exactly how glamorous it looks every time.
This is exactly. Stay classy, me.
Killed it.
Listen. Here, you fix it while I fix it. Oh no, what's going to be open in my Word now that I've shuffled stuff around? Porn? Pay no attention. Yeah. Yes, porn. A porn Word document.
That was the dirtiest clip art I've ever seen. Travis's new money-making scheme. Kirby clip art.
Can you make a mud?
I don't know, I turned into a Will Smith thing.
Hold on. That's fine, but I just gotta get something down for you to argue with.
There's something down. And you're wrong.
It's a tender moment. Push me off longingly. It's a tender moment.
What a great art direction for Andy. It
It
is a tender moment. And what Andy would do. That's what it is.
He is
So this is truly a thumbnail sketch. Now, this is the part where I go, hey Dan, what do you think of this? And he says...
I don't think we need the second and the third. I think it only needs to be 2 panels long. I think that he's looking out into the stars, he sees the shooting star, he's thinking about it, and then what you do is you reveal at the end it's 2.
Does he still say the corny thing or no?
Yeah, I wonder if that's the corny thing I want it to be.
Well, see, Brent in the comic is still single and kind of not sure about his life, not sure about Cass. Brent in real life is a very happily relationship, but just to make it clear, you know.
I love how that is the thing that happened. Like, shit, Elizabeth's in the room, I love you. It's true. You're waiting for your shooting star.
Yes, my shooting. I'm waiting for my...
She fell to earth, and now she's a piece of coal.
And made a crater in my
Diamond.
solar.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, so you guys make out later. All right, so for now, you feel like
I feel like
lay it out for me. How does it look?
I'm
so
saying
get all
that in the
information?
first panel, it's just Brent. He's looking out the window. He's wistful. He's got the thought bubble.
So we're looking at him from outside in. How do we get all that information out? How do we see?
That's why I think you should send
Hold on. You're watching how we do it, as dumb as we are. Don't help us.
I wonder if there's not a way to cheat him a little bit. So it is that, like, you know, it's like in theater. Like, he's looking to the side, so it's a little bit profile. But, like,
So
he's looking like this.
We get another one eyebrow to see how he's feeling.
Like, yeah, he's turned around, he's looking, he's thinking he's got that thought bubble, things coming down.
Okay.
That shooting star. And he's like, oh, you know, like, whenever I see a shooting star, I wonder.
To me, the reason for 4 panels is the rhythm of it. Like, oh, it's going towards this thing, and maybe something will happen. Some nice, like, what's the sign, you know, from the heavens that'll illuminate this nice moment. I feel like that's kind of what I want to feel like, is this abrupt, like, it'd be so creative, like when you. We'll never.
All right. Well, here's if that is what you want.
This is exactly how it goes.
It is. I do like talking to you like you're an infant and don't know what you're doing.
I look like one, so. Yes, exactly.
Could you add irony by having him wish for a shooting star before there is one?
All right, so this is what I would suggest. I think that it should start, and it just as saccharinely sweet in the first panel as it can be. We'll do it as 3 panels. Okay. Then in the second panel, we're getting a little closer now. We're seeing the shooting star, like in a beautiful starry night. Starful sky, the one shooting across. We've got a narration bubble where he's still talking about it. He's just really just pouring on the purple prose about like all the things that he's feeling, about how wistful he is seeing that shooting star, how lovely. And then in the third panel, it is, you get like that little bit closer. So it's sort of like a magnification, like, you know, like we're here, we are far away, we see the star. Second panel, we're still talking about, we're closer to the star. Third panel, we now see that it is Kirby being like, so we've got pacing.
Can we do this trick? We've done this trick a few times where it's like, what kind of oh my god is it? Because if you see the shooting star, it's like, oh my god. Like, just whatever makes that. I don't know. What do you think?
We're not showing Kirby eating the shooting star and then turning into it.
That's the wrong family.
It's too much. It's a thing on top of it.
If that happens, then we don't get to see Kirby in pain, and there's no shot before the cute chibi thing like burning up in the atmosphere. We want it to toasted marshmallow.
Yeah. I think that in the second panel, just to have a little bit of a hint, the shooting star itself should just have a little touch of a pinkish hue to it.
I love it.
And then in the third, I just think like it could be like, oh my god, it was so beautiful. And in the third panel was like Kirby being like, and you want to have a mirror of language, you know.
Yeah.
Well, should we do that?
Oh my god, or oh my god, that's so beautiful, or like is oh my god implying it's so beautiful, or does he actually say it?
Both.
Tell me, Dad. What was the question? Is oh my god sufficient, or do we need more text?
Let's see. Let me look at the first thing I'm saying. I wonder if my special person is saying. Right. So beautiful, my God. And then yeah, like you just feel like, my God!
That's so grateful.
So beautiful, my God.
And we just wrote a comic. That's how it goes.
1 year later, you got your wish. It's the death of Curry! Sick, twisted fuck.
I usually do a Rocky and Bullwinkle style.
Wouldn't it be Fire in the Sky?
Is Kirby? I guess Kirby's a dude, huh?
I think so. Is Kirby is a dude?
Kirby is a play.
Nightmare in
I always
Dreamland.
thought it was an androgynous marshmallow because he has no discerning parts. But
Just hear the title I said.
Kirby's like a gremlin. Don't get him wet.
and there's no time. Yeah. Do we want to do?